Hello, welcome back. Welcome to my garden and welcome to my channel, Saying Yes to Life. I'm Delisa Renideo and I appreciate you being here today to talk with me about being clear on what we really want. As I was thinking about putting this episode together, I was remembering some conversations I used to have many years ago when I was a child with my father. And I can remember sometimes he would ask me in the midst of a conversation, well, what do you want? And like a typical kid, sometimes I'd go, I don't know. And then he'd look at me and kind of grin and say, well, who else shall I ask? You know, that always left me a little bit like, okay, I guess I better think this through. But, I can think about that now, and it still makes me smile and think a little bit. Because, it's really easy to just go along through life, kind of drifting through day by day, without really knowing what we want. Oh, it's easy to go, oh, I want more money, or I want a different job, or, oh, I want a bigger house, but, then if we really think about that, we can discover that there's something deeper hiding underneath those superficial wants. And so as we think about what we really want, being clear about what we really want, it's important to look at the illusion of more. More is better, usually. So if we think about it, we all know we've heard stories of wealthy people who are, so unhappy. We hear about celebrities that have fame and beauty and financial freedom, and yet they struggle often with depression or addiction or broken relationships. Or we hear about people who just excel in some area, and yet other parts of their lives can be just painfully empty or just negative in some way. So that tells us something, that more on the outside doesn't automatically mean better on the inside. And there's some research that I heard about this backs this up. There was one study that I recall reading about that looked at money and happiness to determine whether more money makes people more happy. And what they found in this study, which is really interesting to me, is that when people are living in poverty, then having more income absolutely improves their well-being. To have food on the table, to have a safe home, to have basic needs met, basic health care, basic just the necessities of life. But once those basic needs are met, then the curve levels out. And I remember reading about this one study in the US that found that happiness does rise with income until about $70,000 a year. And then more money doesn't significantly increase happiness. There's another trap that we can easily get into, and that's the trap of if only. And it's not just about money. Many of us carry thoughts that begin with, if only I were prettier, or slimmer, or smarter, then I'd be happy. And these thoughts can drive people to doing things that are so not about saying yes to life. They can drive people to one diet after another, or even to repeated plastic surgeries, always hoping the next change will finally deliver happiness and peace and satisfaction with ourselves. But what we really yearn for is to know deep down that we're already okay just as we are. Now, this does not mean that we don't ever want to make some good, healthy changes in our lives. Healthy change, when it's done from a healthy perspective, is actually a very positive thing. So we might decide it's time to eat a healthier diet, or to exercise more, or to take some classes that stretch our minds. But those choices feel very different when they come from a place of self-love and curiosity instead of the belief that we're not good enough until we fix ourselves. And you know, whether it's money or appearance or success, those things superficially that we think we want really carry underneath them a feeling. Maybe it's a feeling of security or of joy or of freedom or meaning or love. And those can only grow from the inside out. And so if you watched some of my earlier episodes, you've heard me talk about this before, how real joy and meaning come from within us. Now, knowing what we really want does matter, because when we're clear, our energy and our attention naturally organize around that clarity. And without that clarity, we can spend years just chasing distractions and one idea after another, and then we wonder why the results don't appear, or the results we get don't actually bring us the joy or the satisfaction that we thought they would. So here's a beautiful paradox. If we want more peace, the path begins with being more peaceful right now. If we want more love, we start by being more loving. If we long for abundance, we need to nurture the gratitude for what we already have in this very moment. Because what we seek isn't out there, it's something that we can begin to embody today. Because again, it's the feeling that we really are looking for, not all those external things that we may enjoy. So I invite you to spend a little time just with yourself and ask yourself, what is it that I really want? And when you get an answer to that, then ask again, so what's underneath that? And then what's underneath that? And you might be surprised at the treasures that you'll uncover. So when I remember my dad's playful question, who else should I ask? That still guides me. Because only we can listen for our own deepest truth. And when we know what that is, then we can begin to live it. So I want to just thank you for sharing this few moments with me today. And until next time, may you keep saying yes to the life that is calling you.